The term bearable arms has significant implications in the ongoing debate about the Second Amendment. It refers to any weapon that an individual can carry for self-defense, including firearms, knives, swords, and yes, military weapons, even shoulder-fired rocket launchers. The U.S. Supreme Court's 2008 decision in District of Columbia v. Heller was a landmark case that clarified this definition. The court ruled that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to possess a firearm for traditionally lawful purposes, such as self-defense within the home. Justice Antonin Scalia emphasized that the word arms was understood in the 18th century to mean weapons that could be carried and used for self-defense. This interpretation aligns with the original intent of the framers of the Constitution. The courts have even ruled machine guns are covered by the Second Amendment as bearable arms. Scalia's opinion was clear. The term arms does not only refer to firearms but to all manner of weapons that one can bear. This decision was a significant affirmation of the Second Amendment's broad scope. The Heller decision has since served as a cornerstone for subsequent legal interpretations and debates surrounding the Second Amendment. By recognizing the broad definition of bearable arms, the Supreme Court reinforced the foundational principle that individuals have the right to defend themselves with a wide array of weapons. The Second Amendment reads, "A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." Originalists interpret this text based on the framers' understanding. They argue it protects the individual's right to arm themselves. The phrase, "the right of the people," indicates an individual right. This is supported by the context of the Bill of Rights. The Militia Act of 1792 provides essential context for understanding the Second Amendment. This act required every free, able-bodied white male citizen between the ages of 18 and 45 to enroll in the militia and to provide their own military arms and equipment. The act specified that each militia member should have a good musket, flintlock, or rifle ammunition and other necessary supplies. This requirement highlights the framers' expectation that citizens would be armed and ready to defend their community and their nation. The Militia Act underscores the belief that a well-armed populace was crucial for the country's security. It also illustrates the practical application of the Second Amendment during the early years of the Republic. Citizens were expected to possess and be proficient with military-type weapons, reinforcing the individual right to bear arms. The Militia Act also reflects the broader understanding of arms during this period. While the Act specifically mentions muskets, it implies that any suitable weapon for defense was acceptable. This historical context supports the interpretation that the Second Amendment was designed to ensure that citizens could defend themselves and their country. The notion that the Second Amendment only protects firearms available at the time of its drafting is a common misconception. Early American history includes examples of rapid-fire weapons, indicating a broader understanding of arms. The puckle gun, invented in 1718, was a type of early machine gun capable of firing multiple rounds quickly. Although it was not widely used, its existence shows that the concept of rapid-fire weapons was known to the framers. Another example is the Girondoni air rifle used by the Lewis and Clark expedition. This weapon could fire 20 shots in a row without reloading, demonstrating that advanced firearm technology existed well before the 19th century. There are many examples of repeating firearms dating back over 100 years before the founding. The framers were aware of such innovations and did not limit the Second Amendment to single-shot muskets. These historical examples challenge the argument that the Second Amendment only protects the right to bear arms that were common in the 18th century. The inclusion of advanced weapons in early American military use suggests that the framers intended to protect the right to bear any effective weapon for self-defense and national security. The existence of these early rapid-fire weapons also supports the originalist interpretation of the Second Amendment. Public discourse around the Second Amendment often diverges from its legal definitions. Many debates focus on the types of weapons that should be available to civilians, with some arguing for restrictions on certain firearms. However, the legal definition of arms is rooted in historical context and judicial interpretation, which often supports a broader view. The Supreme Court's interpretation, particularly in the Heller decision, affirms that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to bear arms, including modern firearms. This legal perspective is often at odds with public calls for stricter gun control. It is essential to distinguish between emotional arguments in public discourse and the constitutional protections established by law. Legal definitions are grounded in historical precedent and judicial rulings. The framers' intent, as interpreted by the courts, provides a stable foundation for understanding the Second Amendment. Public opinion may shift, but constitutional rights remain constant. Recognizing this distinction helps clarify the true meaning of arms in the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is not unique in that it restricts the government rather than imposing limitations on citizens. None of the enumerated rights in the Constitution can be limited or restricted by government. The phrasing, "shall not be infringed," clearly indicates that the framers intended to protect the right to bear arms from government overreach. This restriction ensures that citizens retain the ability to defend themselves and their freedoms from a government overreach and tyranny. Originalists argue that this protection is vital for maintaining a balance of power between the government and the people. A well-armed populace acts as a check on potential tyranny, ensuring that the government cannot easily oppress its citizens. This principle was a driving force behind the inclusion of the Second Amendment in the Bill of Rights. The framers' experiences with British rule informed their views on the necessity of a well-armed citizenry. They understood that disarming the populace made it easier for a government to impose its will without resistance. By enshrining the right to bear arms in the Constitution, they sought to prevent such abuses of power in the new republic. This perspective emphasizes that the Second Amendment is about safeguarding liberty. The broad protection of bearable arms is a cornerstone of the Second Amendment. This protection encompasses a wide range of weapons, ensuring that individuals have the means to defend themselves adequately. The Supreme Court's interpretation, historical context, and originalist views all support this expansive understanding. By protecting the right to bear arms, the Second Amendment affirms the importance of self-defense from all treats, public and private. It acknowledges that individuals must have the tools to protect themselves, their families, and their communities. This protection extends to all modern firearms and other types of weapons that can be carried and used effectively, even military weapons. The framers' intent was clear: to provide a robust defense against tyranny and oppression. They understood that a well-armed populace was essential for maintaining freedom and security. The broad definition of arms ensures that this protection remains relevant, regardless of technological advancements in weaponry. The Second Amendment restricts government power, ensuring that the right to bear arms remains a fundamental liberty for all citizens. In conclusion, I ask you, what are bearable arms? The legal definition is very clear. Bearable arms are anything that can be used for defense or offense. Yes, anything. That means everything from a basic revolver to the most advanced shoulder-fired rocket and everything in between. The only way the government can restrict your rights is to first repeal the Second Amendment, and I don't think with the current political climate in this country that would be a very good idea for anyone's political career. So let's all go out and buy our machine guns and shoulder-fired rockets. Maybe we can get a package deal if we pool our money. Stay frosty, my friends. Keep your head down and your powder dry.